Evacuate the building using the nearest fire exit. If you're leaving, leave early. If you're staying, be prepared, and either way, the end of the world will taste like ash. When I was little, I had a fear. I'd walk to school and imagine the streets engulfed by flame, just like the scene from Lord of the Rings with the Balrog. And then I would shiver, and it would be gone, because we were spared, with nothing to worry about. Because when I was little, I had a plan. When the fire finally came for us, I'd grab my diaries and my Sylvanian families and beaded friendship bracelets, and I'd put them in my blue suitcase and climb off the balcony and help Dad with the hose. And water would come rearing out of the nozzle like a saving grace, and Mum would have the metal case with all our birth certificates, and I'd be a grown-up, and I'd stand next to the tap and hold the hose, and if the water ran out, if the trees caught on fire, if anything went wrong, we'd run to the road. When I was little, I had a nightmare. I dreamed the mud would start boiling like the jam Dad made in our biggest pot. I dreamed that our neighbours would run to join us, and maybe they'd make it, maybe they wouldn't. I'd think of the photo albums and the paper flowers I made every year for Mother's Day. I'd think of our plastic spades and sandpit trucks melting in the garage. I'd think of the little pieces of my 6-year-old life and how they'd look dissolving in the sickening heat. I'd dream of what fire would look like from below, think about how long I could hold my breath, or if that would even matter. Dream of that moment when waves of incineration would rush overhead, where the trees would look like firewalks at Guy Fawkes, where the air would be a branding iron, and I'd feel a cold jolt of adrenaline, as if I had to repent for seeing all the world scorched clean. When I was little, the world wouldn't end in shell shock or invasion, in intent or action, in the tanks at the War Museum, or when I asked my dad what nuclear means. When I was little, the drought broke. The fall bet down like holy water, and it would never end because this town hasn't seen snow in 11 years. When I was older, the world wouldn't end in ways we read about in high school English. Wouldn't end like the movie I watched on my first date, or the hotel mirror, or your best friend's mixtape. Wouldn't end in bathroom graffiti or my first taste of vodka. Alcoholic, but I don't know what I expected. It wouldn't end by your own hand, not really. The world wouldn't end in a pixelated button, an empty arena, a car veering through pylons, a newspaper gone mad. It couldn't end on purpose, but it can't end by accident. Even the cyclones weren't going to do it, the floods, the ballot boxes, the hope. When I was on fire, there will be smoke, and I'll stop, drop, roll myself like a fucking cigarette, see the glint of his teeth, and I'll write in my diary and wear the friendship bracelet he made me. Everything will be sharp, alert, for a sacred second. My heart will bleed in 7 places, and the crackling of the tree branches will be accompanied by the last post on trombone. Water will take me like a grave and drown me until I'm cauterized, and no matter where I am, I always end up in the reservoir in my hometown. End up with the car bonnet buckling under the heat, and the train tracks peeling like shoelaces pulled tight, and everything will be resolved, and I will be inferno. I always thought God would be a tide of unforgiving flame. So what does that make hell? What does that make this town? When I was little, the world was going to end in fire.